And after you hear the speed, whether it be audio or camera, you always say camera speeding. That will let the director know that, okay, we're all set to go, cueing the action.
Audio speeding.
Okay?
Camera speed.
Camera speeding. Alright. And then since I'll be like slate, and that's when we're doing slate, they'll say scene 1. Wait a minute, I'm missing a take. Can you mark down A?
You didn't mark it, so hey.
CC, will you give me a check?
Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2,
Check
3. Testing 1, 2.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, same. You mark down there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are we good on audio? Cool. Alright, production commercial 4, scene for a change. Scene 1. Take A. January 17th, 2019. And then I'm gonna step out of the frame, and then I'm gonna wait till the room kind of settles from any noise, people that shot. As soon as I hear and see that the shots are clear, I'm gonna say, in this case, go ahead. And then you're gonna be right here,
Okay.
looking at that camera.
Okay.
Okay.
So you ready, or was that just a test?
We're ready to go.
Okay.
It's a real thing.
Let's do it. So in August, starting over, sorry.
It's cool. Keep going.
So in August of 2018, I happened upon a docu-series called The Last Defense, and it aired on ABC. It told the story of Julius Jones, who was a young African-American man here in Oklahoma City, who was tried and convicted of murder and sentenced to death. The purpose of the docu-series was really to kind of highlight the problems that we have in America and specifically in Oklahoma around criminal justice.
Hey, could we pause for a second?
Yeah.
I want to keep rolling. I know you're kind of thinking and it's kind of
Yeah.
like what? But could we get some more hand movement, like
Sure.
more expressive?
Sure,
Mhm.
sure,
Cool.
okay,
All right,
Ready,
so
wanna
just
start over?
continue. Everyone, don't
Okay.
cut. We're still rolling,
okay,
and just continue. First take.
okay.
whatever. Yeah.
Cool. So in August of 2018, I happened upon, sorry,
You're cool.
okay. So in August of 2018, I happened upon a docu-series on ABC called The Last Defense. And it was the story of Julius Jones, who is an African-American young man from Oklahoma City who was tried and convicted about 20 years ago of murder and sentenced to death. I was really troubled by what I saw in the docu-series. There were claims of a racially biased jury. Let me say that again. Can I say that again? Okay. I was really concerned about some of the things I saw in the docu-series. Claims that this young man had a poor public defense, that there was racism present on the jury that was not addressed, and some other things. And I was so bothered that I decided, as a person living here in Oklahoma City, I wanted to see what I could do. And so since then, I've kind of been on this journey in criminal justice reform. And I've got an opportunity to see just how bad things are. And so, dear Oklahoma, we have so much to do around our criminal justice system. And I, as a person of faith, am particularly concerned because when I go to engage people, particularly other Christians, about the death penalty and especially the idea that we could execute someone who may not have committed this particular crime, I'm really disheartened by what I've run into with other Christians.
Let's pause right there.
Okay.
Cool. Let's cut. Cool.
Audio speed.
Very good. And slate.
Commercial for Sing for Change. Scene 2, take 8, January 17, 2019.
So as a person of faith, I think we really need to talk about this death penalty. As a person of faith, I have come to believe that we're getting some things wrong in Oklahoma. That, I'm gonna start over.
Cool.
Okay.
Everyone keep rolling.
So, as a person of faith, I think we've got some talking to do in Oklahoma about the death penalty. I have not been here long, but I don't understand how we can be a people who are pro-life and pro-death at the same time. I do not find in the New Testament anywhere where Jesus would say that this is okay. Yet we execute people in the United States. We are the third.
You're doing awesome.
Okay.
Let's continue off where Jesus, you mentioned
Yep.
about Jesus. Let's
Yep.
Everyone keep rolling.
So Jesus, I cannot find in any of Jesus' teachings where he would condone our state in putting anyone to death for any reason. This isn't a matter, y'all, of who deserves death. According to the scripture, we all deserved death, but Christ died in our place. And so I think in Oklahoma and other states who practice the death penalty, we really need to start taking a hard look at our values. Who are we? And why are we doing this? Particularly as people who, so many of us in this particular state believe in life, are pro-life people. So how does the death penalty work within our values? When I think about the life of Jesus, when I think about who he was, who he is, and what he represents, death doesn't have anything to do with him. When I think about Jesus and I think about the death penalty, I think about the woman who was caught in the act of adultery. And the people came, the men came to stone her to death, right? But Jesus drew a line in the sand. Wait, let me say that again.
You're doing awesome.
Okay. So when I think about Jesus and the death penalty, I think about the adulterous woman who was about to be stoned. And Jesus comes to her and the crowd, and he stands between them, and he draws a line in the sand. And then he says to the crowd, "You who've got no sin, cast the first stone." We've always wondered what that line in the sand is. And theologians have gone back and forth about that a lot over time, but I simply see that line as a boundary. And I believe that Jesus is saying, human beings, people who say they follow me, you all have to have a boundary. And if we believe that every person is made in the image of God, human life ought to be our boundary. And so, Oklahoma, what are we doing? Let's get ourselves together Let's be followers of Jesus and get rid of the death penalty. So I want to end that part.
That was beautiful.
Okay, good.
Everyone cut. All right. And Slade.
Production commercial for Sing for Change, Scene 3, Take 8, January 17, 2019.
We're doing the capital punishment. So if you want to just hold it. Okay.
So a few things that we need to know. First, that Oklahoma is third in the nation for executions in our country. Also, that research shows that the death penalty across the board is racially biased. We also need to know that Oklahoma has a history of wrongful convictions. And for that reason alone, we shouldn't kill anybody. Pause that, and then I'm going to say a quote. But, okay, so let me say this. But no matter what the statistics say, it really starts with our theology. Let me say that again. But no matter what the statistics say, it really does start with our theology. Brian, that's not Brian, it's Shane, sorry.
That's cool. Start from Shane.
Okay. Shane Claiborne, he is the writer of Executing Grace. He says, God's love and justice are much more dynamic than any of our theologies allow for. And I think we have an opportunity to decide whether we want to be a vengeful state or a state that has an imagination around the depth of God's love. Because as long as there's life, there's a chance for redemption. As long as there's life, there's an opportunity for people to change. And we can't just believe that in our churches. We can't just believe that in the comfort of our own homes. We have to believe that in the darkest places of our society if it's the truth. Okay, so now I'm going to say another quote. Can you turn, it's upside down.
Everyone still speed. Still rolling. Cool. You're doing fabulous, by the way.
So Brian Stevenson, he is the author of Just Mercy. He says, the death penalty is not about whether someone deserves to die for a crime, but rather, can I just hold the paper? Is that a problem?
It would be a problem.
Okay.
But,
all right, the
you
death
can, like,
penalty, let me read it.
Yeah,
The death
I
penalty
think,
is
yeah,
not about
read it
whether
and then kinda get
people
it memorized
deserve
a
to
little
die
bit.
for the crimes they commit. The real question of capital punishment in this country is, do we deserve to kill? Okay. All right. So Karina, you can back up again and pull it up some, because I'm hoping that it won't be so obvious that I'm like looking down to read. I'm hoping. So you want me to just start talking anytime? You want me to talk? You ready for me to talk?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Brian Stevenson, the author of Just Mercy, says, the death penalty is not about whether people deserve to die for the crimes they commit. It's more the real question of capital punishment in this country. Doing it again, good Lord. The real question of capital punishment. Okay. So Brian Stevenson, who is the author of Just Mercy, he says the death penalty is not about whether someone deserves to die for the crimes they commit. The real question of capital punishment in this country is whether we deserve to kill. And I think that is the most valid question that we can ask ourselves as people of faith, as followers of Jesus. Do we deserve to kill other people who have, even if they have committed crimes?
Sweet.
All right, so let me see what's the last. There's one more. Let's see what it was.
The photos like that much, is that cool?
Uh,
Are you gonna be using this
Do you
tape?
like
Capital
drawing
punishment
into her
means-
arm at all?
It was pretty close.
Yeah.
Those two quotes are good enough for me.
If you can kind of keep an eye, especially with that wide shot, I'm afraid her paper is like you mentioned.
Yeah.
We're
It
gonna,
is in focus.
I interpret in jails and
Oh, do you?
I go to court and I get to see all.
yeah, if like.
Oh, I bet.
If stuff
I
is in
bet.
the shot, doesn't really matter if stuff is in this black spot, but if like stuff is in front of.
Mhm. It's very complicated.
You can see her nail polish. The person I was holding the paper.
Oh.
That's how
Karina!
trying it was.
No. If let's say like divide the screen in thirds and this third, it's okay. This is safe zone. It doesn't matter if chimpanzees or monkeys or flying flamingos over here. It doesn't matter. I can clean that out. If stuff is like in this middle part,
Yeah.
then you sound sound alarm, just yell.
Right.
God, you know.
Right.
So you should have cut me. Sorry. Let's try this.
Okay, everyone's still
So like
speeding.
there, like
All right,
there,
cool.
like there, I was holding it like that. Is that okay?
That's good.
Okay.
You're good.
So I don't have any more quotes that I want to share, Peter.
What?
I don't have any more quotes that I want to share. Where do you want me to go from here?
Are you finished with your notes?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I think we can just do. Let's take maybe 10 minutes of break. Yeah, let's cut everyone and. Hey, CC.
Testing.
Okay.
1,
You're
2.
good. 2. Wait a minute. No, you're good to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Slate.
Commercial 4, Sing for Change, Scene 4, Take 8, January 17, 2019.
Okay, so we learned about the problem in Oklahoma. We learned about the faith,
Mhm.
your faith and your principles. And so, how did Sing for a Change come to be? What is it all about?
Yeah. So Sing for Change is the philanthropic aspect of my ministry. I'm a worship leader and a speaker and a social advocate. And Sing for Change came about several years ago when I felt that as a churchgoer and as a church member, I wasn't seeing my congregation really engaged in the things that were going on in the world. And so I started Sing for Change, which has a mission of mobilizing faith-motivated human beings toward let me say that again.
So your ministry, it motivates people to do what?
Yeah. So I started Sing for Change to motivate So I started Sing for Change to mobilize faith-motivated people in compassionate social ministry. And so, of course, that looks all kind of ways, right? There's so many things to address in the world, but we focus really on racial conciliation, women and girls issues, criminal justice reform, and HIV and AIDS. So, and we've been going for some years now. It's just been a nonprofit in the last couple of years, and so I'm really, really excited about the next level of what we're going to do.
How many years have you been around?
Yep. So Sing for Change started as an initiative in 2007, specifically addressing HIV/AIDS crises in urban settings. But since then, it's really kind of the mission has expanded and engages in a lot more than HIV. But we've been around that long, but we just became a nonprofit in 2016.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are you hoping to accomplish, like through your ministry, through Sing for a Change? What do people, when they come to you, what are you giving them?
Yeah. So my hope is that Sing for Change, let me do that again. So my hope is that Sing for Change will really continue to kind of just be a model and an opportunity for people to engage in social ministry, and an opportunity for Christians to understand the power that we have in the world to contribute to important issues. So the hope is that we will grow. The hope is that we will have greater impact. The hope is that we can help respond to problems and be an example of Christ's teachings and be good followers.
That's awesome. How are you like being an example? Just by spreading awareness about this issue in the state, or how are you really putting in people's mindset to make a change? Okay,
So-
let me back
so-
up.
so-
You're good. You're good.
I understand
You're
what
good.
you're saying. So I was just trying to figure out what I was going to say about that. So there's so much about the scripture that talks to us about being a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. And in advocacy, that's what we're doing. We are raising awareness to say, hey, did y'all know this was going on? Or did y'all know this was a problem? And then mobilizing, coming together to see how we can together address an issue. And in that way, we are speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. And that's the tradition of the Christian faith, and that's what we are just trying to do.
Cool. Do you do any type of campaigns? Do you go and visit the people in prison? Do you write congressmen or?
No. So our focus is on raising awareness about the problems, and then kind of addressing the powers that be and how we can come together to eradicate those problems. So whether that's folks, let me say this differently. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So our work is really about like engaging one another on the problems, like so that we can kind of all get a clear picture of what's happening around us, and then coming together to decide what are we going to do about it, right? So that's what Sing for Change is all about, mobilizing faith-motivated people to come together around issues. And I'm a person, I believe that, man, I can't do something about everything, but I can do something about something. And so, it's just about, what I feel is the issue that needs the attention at the moment, and hearing God say move toward that, and having the courage to do that, moving toward it. And that looks like, advocacy, writing to our Congress people. That means raising awareness on social media. That means writing about it, blogging, and writing for other news outlets about it, about issues. So advocacy looks so many different ways, but that's our heart, and that's really what we're focused on. I really always like to say that, let me say that again. I like to say that I am an advocate. A lot of people call me an activist, and I guess I am. But I like to say that I'm an advocate because when I think about Christ, the scripture describes him as the advocate. And when I think about what an advocate does, an advocate gets behind people, right? And stands in the gaps for people and speaks for people who aren't able for whatever reason to accomplish something on their own, or might have got into a situation where they can't get themselves out of by themselves. And so, I'm really excited about the work of Sing for Change, and I'm excited about what we're going to do.
So, Sing for a Change, do people come to you and you're prompting them to sing and it's going to change? And
Okay.
what is your role? Are you the director or manager?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I founded Sing for Change when I was still in seminary. And I had to ask God a question about what was kind of next for my life. And as a singer myself, as a worship leader, I felt God in some ways respond to me that whatever my gifts were, whatever my talents were, I was supposed to do those things in order to bring about change, the change that I was seeking. And so Sing for Change started as a movement to mobilize particularly worship leaders and singers, because we always have platforms. We always have opportunities to be in front of people and to talk about things and to sing our music. And I felt like at that time we weren't using our platforms well, because communities were dying and struggling and going through so many different things, and nobody was saying anything about it. And so that's how Sing for Change came about. I still have, as a singer myself, I still have a real heart to continue to mobilize artists and musicians and other creative people in social justice movements. So that's how it came about.
So when you're stepping into this role, okay, you're funding this, is it nonprofit?
It's a nonprofit.
Funding this nonprofit,
Yeah.
how has your personal life changed when stepping into this role?
How has my life changed? I can't really even answer that, because I've been in this work for so long now that I don't even remember my life before.
It just didn't start with you starting your business.
No.
So give a little bit of backstory on your life if you want to.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from a really small town in Virginia, and I always felt, even as a kid, like a call to ministry. And that really was a scary thing for me growing up. And then I got to a place as a young adult where I decided to say yes. And I went off to seminary, and seminary really kind of taught me that my faith was something more than what I do at church or what I do in the confines of my own home, that my faith has implications that are outside of the four walls of the church, or should have implications outside of the four walls of the church. And so I had that really strong conviction, and it was a real awakening for me. And ever since, I have been really, really passionate about how do we follow Christ outside the four walls of the church? Where is he? Where is he going? And are we moving in his direction?
So some situation happened, you moved here to Oklahoma, you saw everything that was going on. What was that deciding factor in your life that you're like, I need to stand up and make a change? If you want to go that route. If not, then we'll move on to something else.
Listen, Oklahoma is such a beautiful state, right? I've been here for a few years now. It's such an amazing state. It has such amazing people. I found, though, that in our public life, there was some gaps between who we say we are as Christians, and that's, we have a huge Christian population here in Oklahoma, and kind of some of the things that are going on in terms of public policy and our public life overall, in terms of education and criminal justice and issues around women and girls and domestic violence, and so so many other things, and I just felt like it was a lot of opportunity to engage and to make a contribution in some way, and that's all I'm trying to do, is to make a contribution in some
So
way.
it's really about calling people because they're uninformed and they need to be woken up into what's really happening behind the scenes. Is it? Do you think that is, or is it something else?
You know what? I really think it is. I really think that, you know, we have a tendency to be stuck in tradition, and we have some poor theologies. And we've got some issues that maybe we even haven't thought completely out, you know, like thought through well, in terms of what is our theology around education, public education? What is our theology around the value of women and children? What is our theology around justice, around restorative justice? Do we believe in redemption when it comes to criminals? You know, so all these kinds of things. And so I think there's just an opportunity to kind of come out of tradition, what we've always believed, what we've always heard, what we've always done, and step into the newness of light in some way, in terms of deconstructing our values and our ideas around particular issues to see what's left, like what's true about this. And I'm hoping that that we'll have the guts to kind of engage in that.
So, what year did you step into this role that you started Sing for a Change?
Sing for Change started in 2007.
2007.
Yeah, as an initiative, but started as a nonprofit in 2016.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
2016. What have you seen? Any change when people have stepped up and journeyed with you?
Listen, I'm so excited because I feel like I am watching people kind of gravitate toward the heart of God. Like we are journeying toward, I believe, the heart of God, which is mercy and justice for us all. Yeah. I really do. I think that we are really all, I see so many of us journeying toward the heart of God, which is justice and mercy for us all. And I'm encouraged in, you know, the people that I engage with. I'm encouraged by the questions I get emailed to me. I'm inspired, and I think that we are in the midst of a sort of awakening. And I'm just excited to be a part of that in whatever way. Yeah.
Cool. How people... I need food.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay.
I am so sorry for saying that I need food, and I'm apologizing for even saying sorry. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
This is not about me. It's about your vision.
Okay.
Get that through my thick head.
You're fine. You're
Thank
fine.
you for that information. How can people get in contact with you to journey on your cause?
Sure. So people can contact me on my website, ccjonesdavis.com. ccjonesdavis.com.
Let's rephrase that into a call to action. Like if you, I hate to put words in your mouth, but like
That's okay.
if you feel the call to make some of these underlying issues known, you can journey with us.
Okay.
To gain awareness or gain more information about the things that are plaguing our state or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Okay. So if you are an individual, if you are a church, if you are some other kind of organization and you want to learn more about what we do, you want to journey with us as we do compassionate social ministry, you can always contact us on the website, which is ccjonesdavis.com. You can find us on Facebook at CC Jones Davis, and Twitter as well, CC Jones Davis, and you can get all the information you need from those places. So I hope to hear from folks, and I'm really excited about what's coming up.
Cool. Thank you so much. Is
Yeah.
there anything on top of your head that you want to mention?
Um,
Anything that we left off to, like, are there some opportunities within Sing for Change that people can volunteer?
yeah.
Or Cool. Do you want to mention anything about that?
No,
Just leave it up and.
because I don't have a particular
Yeah.
area that I need folks for right now. So
It changes all the time.
yeah, changes all the time. So if they just contact me, you know, then at that time I can say what's going on, you know.
Cool. Cool. Is there anything else that you want to mention?
I don't think so.
All right.
Does that feel good?
All right. I'm feeling it.
Okay.
Let's cut.
All right.
Press it
Twice. Okay, okay. I'm glad you told me that because I wanted to push it once.
And then like,
Three.
earphones, you can listen in.
Okay,
Make
see
sure
if
that
we can't
she's
static.
right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, do it again.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2.
That's good.
You can sing.
I can hear feedback, but that's all.
I think we'll do some singing next week. Record it next week.
Oh.
Wait.
Just go ahead and move around. Let me hear you. Not really. I can't hear her. I think I heard someone else, but I think she's good.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you do that,
It's okay?
yeah, I think that's